Rainbow rhythms out from under the dome, out from the park and into your home. Rainbow rhythms.
We are back, Rainbow Rhythmers.
And thank you so much for returning to your YouTube screens and joining us today.
On the show where we look beyond the rainbow and into our community of
Musical Theater.
I'm Robin Quintana.
And I'm Em. I'm Robin Quintana.
And I am Emily Meadows, your Rainbow Rhythms hosts.
And previously on Rainbow Rhythms.
We had the chance to learn about what goes on behind the scenes of our 2022 Rainbow Stage season.
So if you haven't already, make sure to check it out.
And on today's episode, we speak to artists who are doing amazing work for our community, as well as artists that represent the wonderful Winnipeg talent that shines beyond Manitoba and even Canada.
Our first guests of the day are the folks behind Recycled Talent and their recent production of Next to Normal.
Hi, Dan. Hello. Thanks so much for chatting with me today. I'm wondering just about Recycled Talent. What your mission is, how things got started.
About 4 years ago, I'm a teacher at Seven Oaks Middle School, and I ran the musicals there. Mm-hmm. And I'm also a runner. And often on my runs, I would think to myself, it's really, really sad that once the kids leave grade 8, I never work with them again. I built this relationship over 3 years and I can never work with them again. And I would often listen to things like In the Heights or Rent, and I'm always wanting to do In the Heights. We had our first show about 4 years ago. We did In the Heights, Chicago. We did a radio show last year called Boundary Avenue, and then this year it's Next to Normal. I feel like our mission, or my mission anyways, is to present something of high quality. Something that really strikes me with the kids that I'm working with at school is just the mere talent of these students. Mm-hmm. My kids go from middle school and then they move on to high school, and they're actually, many of them go to Garden City Collegiate, so they grow there, and then this just gives them another opportunity to further their love for musical theater. Mm-hmm. Kind of a big thing that I really promote is, if you come out and audition, we'll find a space for you.
We started In the Heights with a lovely, wonderful cast, and every year we just kind of have people who, some people who leave us and some people who join us, and so it's been neat to get to know different people in the community and to be able to work with some of the same people for 3 shows in a row, and then to get the opportunity to work with some cast members for the very first time. One of our Dianas was with us since our very first show, so it's really neat to see her in this big role, and to just see her really shine through that.
So you were in the Heights?
Yes.
And now you're directing one of the shows. As someone who was in the cast of a past show and now directing, what was something that you wanted to keep in mind as a director for this?
Big thing was the sense of family. In the Heights and really any production, one of my favorite things is that feeling of that home away from home and trusting the people that you're working with. And for a show especially like Next to Normal, that sense of family is so important, and I wanted to make sure that that was felt throughout the whole cast and the creative team as well. Yeah. We're all a family and all one unit. Mm-hmm. The excitement grows every year of seeing this new talent emerge from our community and getting to work with them and mold them and seeing them blossom.
There's a need in all of Winnipeg. People want to be involved in musical theater in many different ways, and so I feel like we're just kind of expanding where our volunteers are coming from, where our cast members are coming from, and I think it's been just great to see. I find sometimes when people say the words community theater, there's that almost a stigma sometimes, or like, community theater, but we have such a fantastic community theater in Winnipeg. To be able to go and see other shows and see what Winnipeg can produce is fantastic.
Musical theater is fun for everybody, and it takes you away from your everyday life, and you get to experience a story for a couple hours, which I think everybody can enjoy.
Wow, I'm alive, Emily.
Whatever you say, Superboy. To learn more about Recycled Talent Productions and their next season, visit www.recycledtalent.ca.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Has this ever happened to you?
Man, I really want to go see some good musical theater, but I live in Winnipeg. I can't make it all the way to Broadway, especially not in this economy.
Well, look no further. Here at Rainbow Stage, we've got 2 family-friendly shows happening every summer in beautiful Kildonan Park. Rainbow Stage. Learn more about how you can get your tickets for our 2023 season by visiting www.rainbowstage.ca. Rainbow Stage.
Up next, we have Robin speak to a fellow Winnipeg artist who actually happened to be the choreographer of Rainbow Stage's production of The Hockey Sweater. Also last seen on stage as the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, we are excited to welcome you, Broadway's very own Jaz Sealey.
All right, we are here with our very own Jaz Sealey. Welcome to Rainbow Rhythms.
Thank you so much for having me.
What inspired you to be a part of musical theater?
I went to Grant Park High School, and I went there because I wanted to play hockey, and they had a good team back then. I don't know what their status is now. There was art, performing arts, and band in school, and I took art and band because I didn't want to dance. What happened? My grades dropped in school. I thought I could coast through. Couldn't. My mom pulled me from hockey, and in that month of time of not playing hockey, I found performing arts at that school at Grant Park and haven't looked back. I was kind of hooked. The next summer I was doing a show for Rainbow, doing Big the Musical. There's a pull to it, and it's just constantly learning and never being the best person in the class, so there's always somebody to try to strive towards, right?
Choreographing for the Hockey Sweater, what was that process like?
That was the first thing of my choreography to the world. But it certainly was the perfect storm of my experiences in life. But I loved it. I loved every component, from watching hundreds of auditions, and then I was able to come out and teach. Being able to take all of the top plays of every game that I have seen, and how do we choreograph that? How do we make that work on these kids? And some had incredible hockey skills, and others it's these are rollerblades. We're gonna put them on our feet and figure out how this works. Hockey and musical theater don't usually intersect, and it was really nice that I was able to be a part of a time where it did.
Right after The Hockey Sweater. So can you tell us a little bit about the process of becoming the Scarecrow?
Losing your brain, that's all it is. Just don't think. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, I've always had an attachment to the Scarecrow. I had a chance to play him when I was, I'm gonna say 16. So it was really interesting to come back to the role and attack it with 20 years of life experience and theater experience. And I haven't had a chance to develop a character in quite some time. I have been a part of Aladdin for, it's gonna be 9 years in about a week.
Oh, wow.
My first day of rehearsal for that show. There is no direct trajectory, and I really hope that people understand that, especially aspiring performers. You're gonna hear way more no's than you're gonna hear yeses. You could be extremely talented and not get the show. Trust in yourself, and the journey that you will be on will be the correct journey for what you do.
All right. Thank you so much, Jaz, for your time. You were wonderful to have. We're so happy to have you here.
I would be there with you in person, but the world.
And now we are going to head back to
HQ.
Oh, make way for that Jaz Sealey.
For more updates, follow him at Jaz Sealey on Instagram.
And now we turn to our field correspondent, Bree C. Meadows, for the weather.
It is fall. Rawr.
Thank you, Bree. Our next guest is born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Casted in the cast of a new musical, touring American cities like Chicago, Illinois, Cambridge, Massachusetts, St. Paul, Minnesota, leading her all the way to New York, New York. Joining us today is Broadway's sixth musical queen, Andrea Macasaet.
Andrea, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. It's great to have you. And you're calling us from New York, New York?
Yes.
The city's so nice they named it twice. If we could start talking about growing up and how you got involved in musical theater in the first place.
So 2004, Rainbow Stage, The King and I was cast with all of my friends from singing lessons. It was super fun as a kid. I spent the entire summer with my singing friends, and we were doing this thing. And then I went to college. I went to CCPA in Victoria, And then I found myself in this weird kind of lull, as we all do in this industry, where you're not booking anything. I'd graduated from CCVA. I'd done a couple shows, and then things just kind of like stopped. When I discovered an open call on the Citadel Theatre website that they were holding auditions for Six the Musical in Toronto. It was the last day to submit when I found the notice. Heard back Saturday and said, hey, you have the last slot in Toronto on Monday. I got to Toronto, did the open call. 2 weeks later, I was invited to final callbacks in Chicago, where I was the only Canadian from the Toronto call. And then a few weeks later, I got offered the role, taking on Anne Boleyn, because the Six already had such a big following in London. I thought that I had to be Millie O'Connell. And I got to the rehearsal space and had my session with Toby and Lucy, our creators. They were like, we don't want you to be anything but yourself. This is why you got the role.
And I think that's a huge part of what makes the show so strong and the company so strong, is all of you playing those characters, but bringing yourself to it, not trying to make it like someone else's.
I think what's special about the cast that I'm in is we deeply, deeply care about one another. It's the foundation of why we are successful in this show.
What advice would you have to any emerging artists?
Collaborate with your fellow artists and create special stuff. If you don't see it on stage, create it.
Well, Andrea, it's been really nice getting to chat with you. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you, Rainbow. Thank you, Emily. This was so great.
Wow.
It's okay there, Robin. Don't lose your head.
To follow along Andrea's journey, follow her on Instagram.
And now, let's check out what's happening at Rainbow HQ,
aka Rainbow Stage Headquarters.
Have you followed us on social media yet? At Rainbow Stage.
And that seems to be all the time we have for today, folks.
If you like what you saw, make sure to hit that like button.
And don't forget to subscribe.
And please join us next episode, where we sit down with Cinderella from Into the Woods and Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella to compare who has the bigger pumpkin.
Until next time, I'm Robin Quintana.
And I'm Emily Meadows.
And this is
Rainbow Rhythms.
Thanks for coming along. We'll see you back here before too long. Rainbow Rhythms.